On this episode of Project BADASS2000, pizza away to crew, so I'm subbing in, and we're here at the C3 Composites headquarters with my main man, Kevin Stittle. We're building a carbon airbox for our Jenvey ITBs.
Bam.
Bam.
Sexy time!
All right, Senor Kevin, what are we doing and why are we doing this to our ITB box?
Well, we started with, basically the reason that we're doing this is because we want to have a sealed compartment for the ITBs so we can run fresh, cool air in. We were getting too much heat soak in through just the filter. So we want to be able to separate the air that the ITBs are sucking in from the ambient air inside the engine bay.
That's right. We want you to stop sucking hot air, BADASS2000. And it looks like we're thinking we're going to use the filter as sort of a core to build around.
So Jenvey makes a really nice back plate for their ITBs. So we'd really like to keep using that. There's no need to remake that. That's a great piece.
Yep.
And this is a really great piece too, that we can use the flange and all the structure in this. And the size and everything was good too. So what we're going to do is basically just make a hard carbon version of this with, do you have the intake part? With an intake hose on it there so that it's all sealed and separate.
All right. Ken's put on his safety goggles because this is a very messy process.
Yeah.
Taping up the filter. Why are you taping this up, Kev?
Well, I'm going to lay carbon right over top of it so that we retain this shape. And I mean, it's a perfect plug that we can use to form the carbon, but first we're going to have to mask it off and lay some plastic material or packing tape over top of it so the epoxy resin doesn't stick to it.
Right.
Obviously we can't lay right up onto this foam because the resin would saturate it and
It'll be a carbon overlaid foam.
yeah, so that won't work. But we'll mask it all off, cover it in plastic packing tape, and then we'll lay carbon up onto it, and then when that cures, we'll pop it off and we'll have a copy of this shape.
Sweet. All right. Get packing.
Okay, as with any new endeavor, any custom parts, we put the airbox in because we're worried about clearance initially back here, the heater core. Then we do realize that when we close the hood, the bracing does push it down a fair bit of amount. So
yeah, it does.
What we're gonna do to gain some clearance is we're gonna have to like close the hood, mark down where we're gonna need to cut some of this underhood bracing to get back some of the room. And then we'll probably lay the carbon on top, the first initial carbon layer just to get the shape in.
Yep.
Close the hood so that it'll set with whatever shape it is under the hood. Then we'll further refine it with a second and third layer of carbon.
All right, Ken, you look like you're ready to be in a hip-hop video.
Throw back to the 90s when ski goggles were perfect.
This is Kevin's version of safety gear. Ski goggles on an open blade.
Right, exactly. So don't sweat me this time, okay? We're guests.
We're guests here.
We can't be rude and demand for safety things like angle grinder guards and
face
proper gloves and
shields
face shields and,
that's right.
you know? And of course, they always throw me into it.
That's right. Well,
I'm dispensable.
You're the guy who cuts metal the best, so get cutting.
Show car no more. This is going to go through the skin.
Less talk and more cutting, Ken Wagon.
Here we go.
Oh, look at that. Piece of the BADASS2000. It's going on eBay, people.
I'm going to sign it. Dave's going to jizz on it. And we'll sell it off on eBay.
Ken Wagon keeping it classy here at C3 Composites. So let's hope that gives us the room we need. Maybe we'll sand the edges down a bit and call it job done. Now that Ken's done being a hater then, let's get to work. What are we doing now?
Back to what we were doing, cover up the airbox and lay some carbon on it.
So you wet lay carbon on the whole box now, you think? Or just the top side?
Just where the filter is, and then I'll put a layer of plastic on it so it doesn't stick to the hood. We'll close the hood so that it forms perfectly to whatever space is available in there.
All right, UPS man, what do you think?
We're getting there.
You happy with your taping job yet, or?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I didn't miss any pieces, so then we end up with something that's bonded to the foam, or... Yeah,
that would not be ideal.
No. I mean, not the end of the world because we don't we don't care about
Yeah, if the foam
wrecking
gets,
us a little bit, but it's just easier if it all comes apart easy.
it's a sacrificial filter at this point anyway, right?
Somewhat, yeah.
So this is the part where Kevin has to be part seamstress, part
Yeah.
part designer, part tailor. He's really like the Giorgio Armani of carbon fiber. Yeah, I'll try not to distract Kevin here since he's measuring out his secret sauces in
The E system.
the West system and the correct doses here. So this is your epoxy resin, is that what this is?
Yep, that's correct. So the resin and the hardener, 2 parts, 1 pump of each.
One big pump of this one and one slightly smaller pump of...
The pumps are pretty much calibrated to how much is in there, so it's really an easy system to use.
Yeah.
Expensive but easy.
It does all the measuring and thinking for you in a sense,
I
right?
only use the good stuff right
Yeah.
here.
See, I'm a science Asian, not a math Asian. That's why I like this stuff.
All right, Kev, so obviously you're wetting up this first layer here with the epoxy. And the technique as far as wetting it up is what? Like how heavily do you want to wet it?
Well, you want full saturation of all the cloth.
Right?
Not too much resin because then it's extra weight and it's just not necessary.
It's wasteful.
It's wasteful. But enough that you have full coverage.
Yeah. What you don't want are any dry spots, obviously.
Yep, no dry spots. Just a nice even coating.
The old spatula technique does the trick.
The squeegee works really well.
Squeegee, oh sorry, I guess that's the squeegee.
Much better than brushing it on.
So really, when you need to hire some help, you can get some of those squeegee kids from downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Kevin's wearing this nice ventilated system and I'm just breathing in the fumes here.
It's alright, you don't do it every day.
That's true. There she is. All lubricated, pre-pregnated, ready to be wrapped around our high-tech foam filter mold. Oh wait, there's more to do. We're doing this whole section over here too, I guess?
No,
Or you just want more on this area?
I'm gonna put a little bit, it's just a little bit thin here. so-
Okay. Kind of like my hair, it's thin in patches. So how long before this starts to set up, Kev?
Depends on the temperature, but it's fairly cool out right now, so we've got probably a good 45 minutes to an hour of working time.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a lot of time. Ooh, we have our first strip. You can see Ken studying Kevin's technique. It's like the young Padawan learning from the master here.
I learned from the best, right? It's too far of a drive for me to bring my stuff up here.
It is. You just watch and learn and then you go home and you make stuff.
Yeah, sorry, Pete.
Is there a method to your madness or you're just covering it in like a cross, like in the opposite direction as the other layer?
I just wanted a bit of overlap, and this piece that I cut was too small to do that, so
Okay.
there's really
No hard science happening here?
no. Just
Get her done?
get a carbon structure to start working with. Like a carbon meatloaf.
It is looking like a meatloaf, isn't it? This is pretty much like being at the Koenigsegg factory tour where they make everything out of carbon fiber. This is just the Canadian version. It's actually impressive how much sort of stiffer the fabric gets just by being pre-pregged, eh? It kind of wants to hold the shape a little already.
Yep.
What's impressive is how it's holding shape right now.
Yeah, that's exactly
I was skeptical because I thought it wasn't going to stay.
Yeah. Oh, it's holding the shape really
Hopefully
well.
there's something wrong.
You're not pre-pregging enough, Ken Wagon.
Oh, that's...
I've just stripped a few pubes off there. Got to be clean shaven.
We'll work that all out later. Excuse me.
Not a 70s airbox here. The finishing touches on this first sort of rough inner layer are going down, and then I think we're going to stick this thing in the engine bay. We'll call it the autoclave, but it's just an engine bay.
If we run the engine,
Yeah, start the engine.
It's true, we could bake it with the engine on.
we could
Damn.
make it be done in 15 minutes.
That's actually a pretty badass idea. So what is the idea behind putting the plastic over it?
So this will just hold all the corners and stuff in place,
Yeah?
and it'll also let us put it in the engine bay and not have it stick to everything.
Right.
I don't know if this is a big enough piece to like cut.
Let's bake this carbon meatloaf.
Okay.
Stuff her in there. So because we're worried about the carbon rubbing against the inside of the hood and, you know, maybe damaging the carbon or rubbing a hole in it, we're just going to throw a moving blanket on top of it just to kind of create a bit of space between the airbox and the hood once we close it. So
What do you think? Single layer, double layer?
maybe double layer. All right. Thanks for all the work, Kev. I guess we'll be back to finish this off another day, but in the meantime, let's put our sleepy little carbon box to bed. Night night, carbon box. All tucked in. Close her up. All right, Kev, it's the moment of truth.
That's right.
She's been baking in the oven all night.
That's right. Our carbon meatloaf should be ready now.
Let's see how
what we
tasty
got.
she is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot we had the warming blanket on there. I'm excited, I'm not gonna lie. Ooh.
Oh, look at that.
The plastic is kind of a buzzkill. Oh yeah, that's a good wrinkle right there, isn't it? Oh yeah. That's a bit of a doozy, isn't it?
Well,
we
can body work that out.
Is that the...
And we might even cut into that to put our intake.
Oh yeah, fair
on.
enough. And so maybe it gets smoothed out in the process. Well, there you go, folks. It's not perfect yet, but it's going to be nice when we're done. Don't worry. Well, I've taken the plastic off of it, and now Kev's going to pop it off the filter mold that we used, the form that we used to lay the carbon over, just to see what we've got to work with and if it's worth forging ahead with this or if we need to start over again. It really comes down to, you know, what's the most efficient use of Kevin's time, basically. Oh, look at that. So,
That's what we've made so far.
yeah, it's, I mean, I think the overall shape is probably what the engine bay needs. It fits the space.
Yeah, there's for the heater hose.
Yeah,
And this got pressed down a little bit because of the hood.
yeah.
So we're going to put an intake opening on there so we can smooth out a lot of this
Yep.
and really some of this stuff too.
After much discussion, we've decided to forge ahead with this original meatloaf.
Well, we will. We'll play this out a little bit. We're kind of just bouncing some ideas around on whether we go back to just modifying the stock filter, or not the stock filter, but the Jenvey filter for the clearances we want so that we don't have all these wrinkles in it, or whether we just sort of, a lot of this is going to get cut away when we do our radius into the intake mount.
Right.
But the question is whether it's more work to continue with this one or just to start fresh again.
Yeah, maybe.
And we've already got this where it is, so there's no harm in just playing around with it a little bit more. If we need to, we can go back and knock out another starting point.
So I guess you're thinking of starting with the front end of the box here, figuring out the inlet?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the inlet in. I'll use this as my form. So I'll push this in through here.
Yep.
And then I'll make my radius that I want out of tape. I'll lay that all up, pull this out the back, cut out all the stuff that's behind the radius.
Yep.
And then smooth that all in, and we'll have a nice transition to our 3-inch oval for the intake piping.
What's going on here with all this tape?
Well, almost the same process as what we were doing with the foam box,
Yeah.
where we're masking it all off so that we can lay carbon over top of it. We've put in our form for the intake hose, so this is a 3-inch oval, and we've taped in a transition to it. So we'll lay carbon all up so that we get sort of a carbon piece that slides just over top of this.
Yeah.
Once that cures, we'll slide that half off of it. We'll cut out all this weird wrinkly stuff, and we'll have it blended into the box with the intake opening on it.
So once again, this has been pre-pregnated with epoxy.
Still got that wrinkle in it there.
Ooh, fancy.
Massage.
Oh yeah, that's sexy. Oh yeah, I like that. The stretch move. That stretch move is key. Cutting a little relief in there. Just to get it to lie down. And for those of you who are like, what about all these seams and stuff? Don't worry, don't worry. There will be a finishing layer that goes on top. Makes it look all pretty. And when you're laying stuff down, are you trying to do it in any particular pattern or order? Or
Well, right now I'm trying to get fairly even coverage in terms of the thickness.
Yeah.
Make sure everywhere kind of has about 2 layers,
Yeah.
because that'll give us enough structure for when we pop it off. I can go back and make it stronger.
Yeah. Starting to look like an airbox, isn't it?
It is starting to look like something.
It's amazing what a difference it makes just putting the intake tube in there and kind of smoothing out all those radiuses at the front of the box. Looks proper.
Okay, I think we stopped touching it now.
Put it in the sun, let it cook.
Yep, well, yeah.
All right, let's go bake this bitch. Welcome to the bodywork room at C3 Composites, where Kev's going to be doing the sanding work on the 2 halves of our meatloaf. And these wires up here, those are not for hanging carcasses off of, it's for hanging car parts off of after they've been painted or clear coated. So, nice to have a separate space for making a mess in. Once again, I'll be breathing in the dust as Kevin does the sanding here. These are the dangers I'm willing to expose myself to get the video for you people. So just giving it a scuff with like a, what grit level is that?
60 or 80, I think.
Something fairly
80.
80 grit already. So sanding this is obviously just to give 2 surfaces that are going to get bonded together a nice sort of rough mating surface. So everything sticks together nicely. With all the sanding complete, now it's time to bond the 2 halves of our carbon meatloaf together. As you can see here, Kev's simply clamping it to the Jenvey base plate, and then he'll use the same epoxy resin that he used earlier to glue the whole thing together. After that, he'll do some body work to smooth out any rough edges, lay a fresh layer of carbon over top to make it look pretty, reinforce the inside, and I think that's Bob your uncle, but let's hear from Kevin himself. Strangely, we're here at the Canadian Heritage War Museum, or whatever it's called. It's full of airplanes. It's a cool looking building. Kev's on his way to TMP to rip the chump car, and he's finished our airbox. So obviously a lot's happened since I left your shop. You want to give us a rundown of what you did to finish this off?
Yeah, so I think when we finished, we were just blending in the radiuses for our opening.
Yeah.
So I made that piece, and then that slid off. Okay, it was taped off from the main part of the box. I slid that off, then cut back the original box that would have been similar to this shape, right?
Yep.
So cut that back and then bonded on the new radiused front half of it.
Okay.
So mated those together so they're one piece. bonded it all in on the inside, so it's all smoothed out and carbon on the inside, super strong. This thing's like bulletproof right now. From there, we had still some kind of just wonky shapes, so I did some body work on it, smoothed it all out, faired it in. Obviously still keeping our recession here for it's a cooler.
It's a brake booster hose, or no? It's a coolant
hose.
Right?
Yeah,
heater core hose.
So that was kind of the one main thing that we needed.
Yep.
For clearance in the S2000 engine bay, and also if you see, it's got a curved shape, so that follows down with the hood.
Yes.
So if we stayed on this plane the whole way, we'd be interfering with the hood.
Right.
So now it's a very unique shape that you can't, you know, people would say, well, why didn't you just make a mold, or why didn't you da-da-da-da? Well, this is a very one-off, different shape that is custom formed now to the S2000 engine bay.
Yep.
Sand it all back, finished it off. It's got just a clear coat on it.
So you've also put some sort of a lip on here to help hold the intake hose on.
Yeah, so what I did there is actually just took carbon strands out from a piece I wasn't using.
Yeah.
That already had some resin from just an extra piece.
Sure. And
wrapped that around. So now we've got that's full carbon. That's just a little lip there for the hose to.
Yeah, great idea. It's
to
like
not slip
carbon
off.
bead rolling, eh?
It is basically, yeah. The last thing I didn't say was I bonded in the original Jenvey base plate, so that is all going to match up seamlessly to our base that's already on the car.
So she should just bolt right up.
Should bolt right up.
Though it's a lot stiffer than that foam filter was, so it might be a bit trickier to jam it in the bay, but we'll find a way to do it.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep. Well, thanks so much, Kev. We really appreciate all the hard work. The next time you see this sexy meatloaf, it will be on the dyno getting a tune, and then to the racetrack if we get another one of these warm November days, huh? Kevin's got rhythm, not bad for a white boy.